listening to the Good Stuff Podcast with your host, C.K. Helms.
All right. What's up, everybody? It's me, CK, and you're listening to the Good Stuff Podcast. This is episode 9. That means we're almost in double digits, and that sounds pretty good to me. I haven't been canceled, so that's always good. I like to say that a lot, but I just have the pleasure of getting to talk to you every single Thursday about the entertainment world, about, nerd, geek stuff mostly, and all sorts of other things, whatever comes to my mind. So thank you for tuning in to this episode and every episode, Thursdays. This episode is brought to you by Blind Bandit Productions. Each and every episode of Good Stuff Podcast is brought to you by Blind Bandit Productions, which you can find more about that on blindbanditproductions.com. Learn about the start of the podcast network, which is my show, the Good Stuff Podcast, and hopefully one day we will have more podcasts on the network, but I'm the start of it, so that's kind of cool to be the start of a podcast network, and we got some other things coming on the pipeline for Blind Bandit Productions, and the only way you can find that out is by liking Blind Bandit Productions on Facebook and following that website, blindbanditproductions.com. But yeah, so don't forget about Good Stuff Podcast, which you can find on Podbean, Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and iTunes. All those places you can find the show, whichever is your preferred music listening app or site. You can go to that and listen to each and every episode of the Good Stuff Podcast. Man, got kind of tongue-tied there for a second. But yeah, and if you don't mind liking us on Facebook, facebook.com/The Good Stuff Podcast. And I had to make sure you notice that it's the and everything else. It's just Good Stuff Podcast, because apparently that was already taken on Facebook. Whatevers. Anyways, leave us a review on the Facebook page or iTunes. Heart us on Spotify. Do what all you can. Help support the show. And if you want to also help support me, that old saying, I get by with a little help from my friends. And I have friends that do podcasts. Of course, my buddies, sorry about that, Caleb, Sean, Jerry, and Craig, they do Southern Fried Geekery. I share that episode every Monday at noon on the Facebook page here. And then, of course, my other friend, by the way, Southern Fried Geekery is a comic book podcast, and they also talk about entertainment news. I think like 1 week they do a Smother Cover comic episode. The next week it's an entertainment news, basically nerd news and stuff like I talk about on every show. And then they do another Smother Cover comic episode where each one of them has a comic. They do a round table comic as well, reviews. And then the next episode is listener questions, and they just repeat that cycle over and over again throughout the month. But yeah, I love those guys. Those 4 guys are the reason why I got back into the podcast world. But yeah, so check those guys out, which you can find their Facebook group instead of a page. They have a group. You can join the group and get on the discussion. They got tons of stuff on there happening all the time, people talking, and so you can find other people that like the same stuff that you do. But another one of my friend, Jess Carson, her and her friend Nikki do a podcast called Characters on the Couch, and you can find that on the Good Stuff Podcast page on Wednesdays at noon. And I also tag their Facebook page on that, so you can like their Facebook page as well. But yeah, speaking about Jess Carson, my friend, that's how I'm going to segue into the news segment of Good Stuff Podcast, because Only Human, the play from the music and lyrics by rocker Mike Squilantes. Could be saying that wrong. I don't know. Squilantes? It's not Squidward. I know that. It's a biblical musical about a battle between Lucifer and Jesus, and it opens off-Broadway on October 17th at the theater at St. Clement's, with previews beginning October 7th and making a run all the way through January 5th of 2020. And the cool thing about that is there's a book by Jess Carson. That's what it says right there on the page. And I believe I shared that on the Good Stuff page today. So, which is Thursday, February the 21st. And you can go check that out and learn more about it. And if you know you're off Broadway during this time, you can see Only Human. So that'd be cool. But other things happening with people in Arkansas, or because Jess, she doesn't live in Arkansas, she lives in Los Angeles, but she's from here, so she's still cool. And plus, she's my friend. But other things happen in Arkansas. Made in Arkansas presents the premiere of Unscripted. It's a documentary, and also there's going to be 8 shorts made by people that are in the film program at UCA. That's March 8th from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Ron Robinson Theater. Tickets are only $5 for that. I shared the link to the event page on the Good Stuff page, so you can go look up that information, and you can go to the event page and buy tickets. The reason why you should buy tickets is because my guest for today is Tanner Smith, and Unscripted is his documentary. So, and we'll learn more about that later on in the show if you stick around and listen to that. Also, the other UCA shorts, because Tanner, during the interview, which we recorded a couple weeks ago, I forgot to write down the 8 shorts, but they are Bicycle Cop, The Big Break, Don't Shoot the Messenger, Hide and Seek, Late Fees, Manic, Mr. Whistler, and Rex. That's your 8, the 8 shorts made by people at UCA. And Unscripted is actually a documentary on these people that are making those shorts. And so it's really cool that you get to see this documentary of these, these guys and girls in this film program at UCA making these shorts, and you get to see the 8 shorts after or before Unscripted. So I think that's pretty cool. So it's only $5, guys. As I said in an interview, you spend $5 at McDonald's, you can spend $5 on supporting Tanner and the other people at UCA that made these shorts. But let's take some news away from Arkansas. And this news just got announced yesterday, but Chris Hemsworth, or you might know him as Thor, he's going to play Hulk Hogan in a biopic, and that's pretty cool. Hulk Hogan, he's a controversial person, and so everybody has their opinion about him, but he's one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, if not the greatest. He's like the Michael Jordan of wrestling, and so he's going to be played by Thor. So Thor Mania is running wild, and but you know what's not running wild? And sticking to Marvel, is Punisher and Jessica Jones. They're no longer running wild, as they were just canceled by Netflix this week, which we knew was coming because Iron Fist and Defenders and Luke Cage and Daredevil had already been canceled. And so the second season of Punisher just came out, and then Netflix canceled Punisher, and they canceled Jessica Jones before the second season even premieres. So, but we knew this was coming. The Marvel and Netflix shows are coming to, their partnership's coming to an end. Disney, who owns Marvel, they got that Disney Plus, and they're gonna also be having a controlling stake in Hulu now, because with buying Fox, they get 60% share of Hulu, so they're basically the major shareholder. So they can't have their stuff on Netflix anymore. So that's really why the stuff got canceled, in case you wanted to know. But I'll let Caleb from Southern Fried Geekery talk more about that, because I know how much he loves to. But yeah, Marvel, speaking of Marvel still, is Gwyneth Paltrow just confirmed her last Marvel movie will be Avengers Endgame. She plays Pepper Potts, and she played her in the Iron Man movies, and then the Avengers Infinity War. And she has said that Endgame will be her final film as Pepper Potts, and she even bid a farewell to co-star Robert Downey Jr. on Twitter, which you can go search for that. So, sad moment, but kind of makes me think that Iron Man's going to die, and I don't really want to think about that right now. Let's wait until Endgame comes out, and then I'll cry at that moment, okay? But yeah, moving around along. Call of Duty Black Ops 4 fans? Any of you guys play Call of Duty Black Ops 4? Because they just started a new season on that game called Operation Grand Heist. So they've made updates to the multiplayer and Blackout and Zombies mode. And so you're starting over, earning those tiers to get stuff for your characters and stuff. Season just started over the other day. Me and Zach, my producer on the show, we both play on PS4. So you can actually add us on PS4 on CK the Red Hood, with the CKRH being capitalized. And you can add Zach, Z-Bandit, and his Z is capitalized. But yeah, add us on PS4. And even if you don't play Black Ops, but if you do, you can play Blackout with us, because we play the Battle Royale version of Call of Duty all the time. So yeah, add us on there and have some fun with us in this new season of Operation Grand Heist on the Black Ops 4. But DC Comics has just announced a new comic book miniseries, a 6-issue miniseries from writer Tom Taylor, which, if you read comics and stuff, you might know him from the comic book of the Injustice comic book series. And they announced a new 6-issue thing coming out starting May 1st called Deceased. It's a little play off of the word deceased, but it's DC East. Yeah, you get it. Anyway, so it's basically like DC's answer to Marvel's zombies. And so, yeah, that should be interesting. It takes place outside the main continuity, so expect plenty of deaths, because they won't stick, because it's like a Elseworlds event, basically. But yeah, speaking of events, WrestleMania, the biggest wrestling pay-per-view of the year, which is April 7th, by the way. And the reason why I mention that, because the night before WrestleMania every year is the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony. And I mention that because they just announced this week that the headliners for this year's Hall of Fame is going to be none other than D-Generation X. And for my wrestling fans out there, D-Generation X, is one of the greatest groups of any wrestling time. So to finally get DX in the Hall of Fame, that means, Shawn Michaels is already in the Hall of Fame. So that means he'll be a 2-time Hall of Famer, just like Ric Flair is. And then you got Triple H, Chyna finally being inducted, though some people would say that she should have got her own induction, but at least she's in there. X-Pac, Billy Gunn, and then Road Dogg. So, yeah, all the DX members going to be inducted into this year's Hall of Fame. But pretty cool stuff, I think. And I could just, I'm thinking in my head of who I would like to see get inducted in this year's Hall of Fame. And I think Christian from, Edge and Christian would by far be a pick that I think I would have picked to be in the Hall of Fame already. But yeah, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. And you never know. But speaking of wrestlers, and, we already mentioned Hulk Hogan earlier, and now we're talking about the Hall of Fame. But I think one wrestler that people know a lot these days is John Cena. And he's going to be the host of Nickelodeon's Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? They're bringing back Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? And sorry, Jeff Foxworthy, but John Cena is going to be the host of that. So that's pretty cool. Nickelodeon has announced that they're doing a new version of All That, the sketch comedy show that back in the day, in the 90s, you probably watched it if you're a 90s kid. And it's going to be co-produced by Kenan Thompson, who was on All That. So that's pretty cool. And then they also announced that they're remaking Are You Afraid of the Dark? Rebooting it, I guess, or whatever. So they'll be doing an Are You Afraid of the Dark miniseries starting in October. That starts in October. And because there's a film actually October 4th coming out from Paramount Pictures and associated with Nickelodeon Pictures of Are You Afraid of the Dark? And that's going to coincide with the miniseries. And also on all that is coming out this summer. But yeah, that's all the news that I really have for you this week. But let's get right into the releases for this week. Let's see, movies. Starting tomorrow on the 22nd, the nationwide release of Fighting with My Family, the Paige biopic that I mentioned last week. That was actually a limited release last week, and but it's now a nationwide release tomorrow, the 22nd. And also, How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, comes out. Also, I believe that's the third movie in the How to Train Your Dragon series. And if you hear a baby talking throughout the show, that's just Phoenix. And she's just really excited. She's got some puffs, and she just likes to talk. But yeah, my daughter. But DVD releases for next week on the 26th, Tuesday. I didn't really see anything that I knew, but I see that Possession of Hannah Grace and then Between Worlds are both being released on the 26th. I don't know anything about those two movies, so it doesn't look like anything noteworthy is releasing next week. So I guess save some money there. You don't have to buy a DVD or Blu-ray next week. But now we're moving into video games. And if my 5-game release schedule from last week didn't break your bank, then this week, Anthem comes out tomorrow, the 22nd, February 22nd. Anthem, the new game from BioWare, coming out on PlayStation, Xbox One, and PC. And Anthem was actually on my list for top games in 2019. So, but yeah, pick up Anthem on Friday. And then, let's see, next Tuesday the 26th, Trials Rising is coming out on all systems, the PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC. It's finally coming out. It got delayed until the 26th. And then Lego Movie 2 game, the video game for Lego Movie 2, which the movie just came out a couple weeks ago. And it's going to be out on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. And then Dirt Rally 2.0 will be on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And that is your releases for this week. Moving right along in the show. This month, of course, is Black History Month. And I've been doing every episode on this month. I've been doing a Black History character spotlight. The first one I did was on Black Lightning. Then last week I did one on Misty Knight, from Marvel Comics. And this week I'm not going to do a comic book character. I'm going to do a Star Wars character. And the reason why I got to Star Wars is because I really just, at first I originally was like, I should just do Samuel L. Jackson because he's been in everything. And he plays Nick Fury and Mace Windu and Star Wars, and plus he's been in all sorts of other movies. And I was like, but it's character spotlight. So I was like, okay, I'll just do Mace Windu because it has some history I can dive into and whatever. And I was like, no. If you're going to do a African-American character for a character spotlight, it's got to be Lando Calrissian. Man, I almost messed that up. But yeah, Lando, original character, debuted in Star Wars Empire Strikes Back in 1980, played by Billy D. Williams. And of course, back then, Lando, he was the Baron Administrator of Cloud City. And, he betrayed Han Solo to Darth Vader. And but then he made up for that in Return of the Jedi back in 1983, whenever he became a general in the Rebel Alliance, and he led the second attack, the attack on the second Death Star. So he made up for betraying Han, which he kind of had to, because Darth Vader showed up and stuff. And what are you gonna do? Look after your people. So it kind of makes sense. Then he is actually going to be in the new Star Wars Episode 9 that comes out this year, and played by Billy D. Williams. And it is actually one, if not the longest, intervals between portrayals of a character by the same actor in the history of film cinema. I don't know if it's exactly the longest, but it is one of the longest. Sorry, my daughters are weird. But yeah. Lando was also played by Donald Glover in the Solo Star Wars adventure, Star Wars movie, whatever that movie's called, Solo, that came out last year. And I must say, he channeled Billy D. Williams' take so well, and it was amazing, his portrayal of Lando in that movie. So you got to see the beginning of how Han and Lando met, Lando being the original owner of the Millennium Falcon, and he joined Han's little team and stuff like that. And then eventually he kind of betrayed the team, and left them. And imagine that. And then at the end, you get to see that game of Sarlacc where Han showed up and how he won the Millennium Falcon by using the same cheating method that Lando used in the movie. And so that was pretty cool. But Lando has also appeared on the Star Wars Rebels cartoon. He's been in comic books, including a 5-issue miniseries that was back in 2015. He's been in several books. A lot of that was that Legends universe now, because once Disney bought it, they made everything, Legends, and it's not continuity. But he has been in a continuity book, Star Wars Last Shot, and it's set between episodes 6 and 7. And then he's also been in some video games, Battlefront 1 and 2, and he was voiced by Billy D. Williams in those. And also Lego Star Wars Complete Saga. But a fun fact, one last thing, about Lando Calrissian is that there was an action figure which can be seen in the middle of Elliot's toys in the movie E.T. So, fun fact for you. So, go back, watch E.T. and watch when you see in the bedroom and you see like Elliot's toys, you can see a action figure of Lando. Okay, now my daughter's being really loud. So, shh, Daddy's making a podcast. Come on, wait for your own segment. Whenever you can talk, you can have a segment like the boys have, Hoodies on Life, which the boys are not here today. But yeah, moving right along. This is the next segment. It's called Comic Books with CK, or as I like to call it, CBWCK. And on CB with CK each week, I give you a comic book that was released last week, and I talk about it a little bit, that I think you should go back and read. Maybe they'll still be at your local comic book shop, or you can get it digitally. And then I also give you a book that comes out this week, which New Comic Book Day is every Wednesday, and my show comes out Thursday, so I give a recommendation which I think looks good out of my pull list for the week, and just random ones. I really don't know which will be the best. I just kind of just give random choices each time, just because I just want to have a nice variety. But yes, last week, Red Hood Outlaw number 31 came out, and some of you right now are judging me because I'm picking a Red Hood book, and since I am the Red Hood, of course I'm going to pick a Red Hood book, but I haven't picked one in like 4 episodes of doing this, so give me this one, okay? And Red Hood Outlaw 31, which it's been a cool run. It probably wasn't the best one per se that I read this week. There was a lot of great ones like Oberon number 1, and that sticks out. And but yeah, I wanted to pick out Red Hood Outlaw number 31 because it comes to the end of the current storyline going on. It's from writer Scott Lobdell, artist Pete Woods, and Rex Cocker. I can't even read my own writing, to be honest with you. So feel free to come on here and smack me, anybody, not even just this Rex guy. But yeah, it's in this book, Red Hood comes face to face with Solitary. He's a villain that controls perception, and the way that he's drawn, it looks like three people's heads, but the two on the side are like, it's kind of like he's shaking his head a bunch. I mean, I don't really, I guess the art wise, they were just trying to make it look like it's shaking a bunch, and that's the way they drew it. But I don't know. Anyways, he controls perception, so that kind of makes sense. And then so he's talking to Solitary, and then Solitary is about to unleash these Mondays on him. Now Mondays, they're mutant versions of Solomon Grundy, and and behind Solitary is the character Bunker, who is Miguel Barragan. He's a Mexican descent, and he's a gay man, whose first appearance was in November 2011 in Teen Titans Volume 4, Number 1. Fun fact for you. Anyway, his powers, he creates psionic energy constructs. So Red Hood basically says that Solitary's afraid of him, and that's why he's like in this glass tube thing, kind of like a cage, basically. Red Hood points out, and then he throws his crowbar there and lets out Bunker, who of course like starts pretty much attacking Solitary, and so Solitary runs off. And then you see, Red Hood goes up to talks to Bunker, and then he chases after Solitary. Then he gets jumped by Wingman, which I haven't been reading comic books again for a while, but it was apparently I don't know who it is, but earlier in the run, Jason Todd used the identity of Wingman during a storyline, and I don't know who this new Wingman is. I don't know if it's been really confirmed. He was in issue number 30, but I don't think really. I don't know who it is. But yeah, and he's like a back character, and so he jumps him and tells him again, because on issue 30 he told him that he's needed in Gotham's because DC's got that Heroes in Crisis going on, and so it's kind of tied into that, and telling him that he needs to come back to Gotham, and Jason doesn't want to go back, so he kind of like gets Wingman off of him and goes after Solitary again, and then there's this, Solitary can control perception, so whenever he gets to Solitary, and Solitary's kind of upset and down on himself because, and basically he makes it like a dream world, I guess, and shows the history of how he came to be. He had experimented or volunteered for these experiments, or not less volunteered in prison, and basically he's like three people together, and he has two other inmates hit minds, and like they meld into one mind, and then when he got these powers, and then they go back to reality, and basically tells Jason, because he calls him Jason instead of Red Hood, and he says that he's his dad. He says that he's Jason's dad, Willis Todd. And so Red Hood rips off his arm, like not his arm, his sleeve of his arm, to check for an arm tattoo that his dad has. He doesn't have it, so like he basically, I guess, says, that's not you're not my dad, and then ends up throwing a crowbar in his chest. I don't know if he dies or anything, but then what excites me more, I mean, it was fast paced this issue, but what excites me is the end of it. Cut to 1 week later, and they're in Gotham. It's Jason, and then I guess it's the Miguel, who's Bunker, and then whoever the Wingman guy is. I don't know who that is, but so they're in Gotham, and they're at the grave of Roy Harper, who's died in Heroes in Crisis, and Jason puts like the Arsenal hat on the tombstone of Roy, and says that he never told him this, but he hated that hat. And so then they leave, and apparently they have some plans, and Jason tells the the other two guys and his dog that they're going to go ahead and basically prepare the plate, prepare dinner. I don't know exact terminology of what they said, what he said, but prepare the meal or something. Basically, whatever they have planned, they're going to get it set up because Jason has to go do some other stuff. And so the last page, full page panel of you see in the sky, it's just basically it's the Red Hood helmet, the original Red Hood helmet, because right now Jason's got this weird Mortal Kombat crossover looking mask, face mask and a hood, and has a regular eye mask, domino mask, and he uses a crowbar and a katana instead of guns. But you see the in the sky, basically it's not actually there, and they're walking off, and Jason says he's got to go take care of something else. So I'm interested to see what happens in there. But yeah, Red Hood Outlaw number 31. It was a good issue. I don't give numbers or anything of ratings on comic books, but I definitely think they should pick that up at your local comic book shop or get it digitally, Comixology or something like that. But yeah, as a runner-up, I would say Avengers: No Road Home, number 1, from Mark Waid, Al Ewing, and Jim Zub. It's a sequel to the No Surrender storyline, which I need to go back and read because I just got back into comics like a month ago. But yeah, so it's a sequel to that. So I had to look up some information about what happens in No Surrender, so I could know what happens in No Road Home. But yeah, that was a great storyline. No Road Home, number 1. Very interested. It's got Hercules in it, which is cool. And so playing off, that's my runner-up from last week. So playoff for this week is Avengers No Road Home number 2. So you can get both of those now and join in the storyline and see how it goes. I'm not going to talk more about it because I think I've droned on about comic books enough for this week. But yeah, moving right along. Got a couple reviews for you, and I'm just going to make them quick because I want to keep you long. I do want to keep you long, but I'm not going to. But yes, a couple things that I just finished Kingdom Hearts 3, finally, which is kind of hard to play video games with children and stuff. So, but yeah, I just finished Kingdom Hearts 3, and it was amazing. Kingdom Hearts 3 was everything that I've been waiting for 7 years for. The storyline was amazing. Combat was awesome. Get to see a lot of cool worlds, Disney, Pixar worlds. Got to go through and just all these games that came out in the Kingdom Hearts series, and like 9 games or something like that. You got to see the payoff, and it was an amazing game. I loved it. There's a lot of cutscenes, in case you didn't know if you don't play Kingdom Hearts games, but there's a lot of cutscenes, especially there at the beginning, so it's kind of jarring a little bit for some. And then at the end, there was like an hour worth of cutscenes, I think. But it was cool. It was amazing. Gameplay was great. Storyline was great. It looks great. The cutscenes look amazing. And but yeah, I had a great time. I had fun the entire time I was playing it. I'm going back through it now to get all the hidden Mickey's pictures that you can take, or they're called lucky emblems, but if you've been to Disney World, they got hidden Mickey's, so you may or may not know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I loved the game, and it definitely was worth the wait for me, and I can't wait for future games that will come out in the Kingdom Hearts saga, because those are coming. And I won't spoil any of the story or talk about any of that, because I don't do that. But yeah, out of 10 stars, I'm going to give Kingdom Hearts a 9. It was amazing game. But I said maybe the cutscenes were a lot of them, and especially at the beginning. So it could be jarring to new players. And if you haven't played any of the other Kingdom Hearts games, there's actually like some videos in the game that you can go to and catch up to see the story so far, and like 5. And so there was stuff. I mean, I haven't played all the Kingdom Hearts games. I just watched those videos, and so I could understand some of the things that I've missed from some of the handheld games that they came out with, and other stuff. So, but yeah, check it out, Kingdom Hearts 3. Yeah. But moving right along to another little short review is a Doom Patrol, the latest live action series from the DC Universe, which the DC Universe app, if you don't have that now, it's only $7.99 a month and well worth it. Tons of shows, movies, comic books. It's a great app. Yeah, you can get it on like Roku, Amazon Fire, mobile devices, computer, stuff like that. Not on consoles yet, but that's okay. They'll get them. It's an amazing app. If you listen to Good Stuff podcast, I've spoken about it before because I've talked about Young Justice Outsiders. I've talked about the show Titans, and now we got Doom Patrol, which spun off of Titans because they were in the episode, and it's the show that I never thought I would need, but I love it, and it's well worth getting the DC app, Universe app. I mean, this is well worth it. Which if DC, Young Justice Outsiders was it for me, but if you don't like animated stuff, then Doom Patrol is definitely for you. Doom Patrol, it's Robot Man, what's Negative Man, and Elastigirl, Crazy Jane, and then the Doctor guy. I can't remember his name right now, but Dr. Wheels or whatever he's called. But Niles, isn't it his name? But so that's the Doom Patrol, and let's see, this episode, the pilot episode, it's how you do a pilot. It just drew me in. The characters were great, and I really think it had to do with the episode really centered around the origin of Robot Man, who's played by Brendan Fraser, which you may remember him from, the Mummy movies, George of the Jungle, maybe. He is amazing as a Robot Man, and you get to see his origin. And I'm not going to talk, like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything or anything like that, or talk about storylines too much. But he's so good, and it just made me wonder why he hasn't been acting for so long. Which he's had some personal things with baby mama drama, basically, and in his personal life, and so he's had to deal with all this, and so that's why he hasn't been doing much acting. But God, he is so good, and he just made that show amazing. And I can't talk good enough about him. It's so good. His portrayal of Robot Man is amazing. What's made the show for me, but the whole Doom Patrol is awesome. Crazy Jane, can't wait to learn more about her. And so that's what I'm really looking forward to. But the villain of the story is Mr. Nobody. I think it's Mr. Nobody. Yeah. And he's played by the great Alan Tudyk. And so, I mean, you should, if you don't know his name, then who Alan Tudyk is, then maybe you're just not the geek and nerd stuff like I am. But yeah. So he plays the villain, and you get to see his origin in the film, or in the pilot episode, and then you get to see him as Mr. Nobody at the very end of the episode, which will go into the second episode. It left on a good cliffhanger, and he's an amazing actor as well, and can't wait to see more of him and learn more about his relationship to the Doom Patrol and stuff like that. So it's a great show. I'm hooked in. I'm ready. And so this is definitely going to tide me over until the second part of Young Justice Season 3 comes in June. So, God, it's so good. What are you doing? Go get the DC Universe app and watch Doom Patrol. Trust me, you'll love it. But I got one more review real quick before we go into the Tanner's interview. And the reason why is because we're going to talk about Because of Kelly in Tanner's interview. And Because of Kelly is it's like a meta documentary that Tanner made. And I really speak a lot highly about it in the interview, and which he didn't know if my feelings would change once I saw it, because he sent me the link to watch it. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about it. So basically, Tanner's been dating this girl, Kelly, since 2014. And then in 2017, he decided he was going to, I'm giving you short versions of this. He decided he was going to propose. And so Tanner made this documentary about proposing to Kelly. And so in this documentary, you get to see, it's a mix of so many different types of things. There's Tanner's interviews, interviews with other people. There's actual videos from that I guess he took with his phone or camera or whatever whenever him and Kelly were doing things. There's reenactments played by two actors of things that have happened in Tanner and Kelly's relationship, and he did all this without Kelly ever knowing that he was making this movie because of Kelly. And I found it so amazing because I guess I'm a sucker for amazing proposals, which you can learn about my proposal when I proposed to Lacey, my wife, the ladyhood herself, in last week's episode, episode 8, Ladyhood Love, or you can learn more about it in the interview with Tanner, because I talked about it. I'm a sucker for amazing proposals that kind of stick out, and so just this whole project was just amazing to me of, hiding all this from Kelly, and it's an amazing documentary. I don't watch a lot of documentaries, I'm not gonna lie to you, but I went into this, and I kind of had high hopes for it, just because of I like the proposal idea and the whole making the film without her knowing, basically, because there was like parts when like she was there and in like the same place, like when they did the 48-hour film project, and she was there, and they were like, and he was like in a bathroom talking about it, and because he even did like a 48-hour thing and a film, and it was about secret proposals, and he was doing a documentary behind the scenes of this secret proposal, and it's just so crazy. And so I had high hopes of it, but I like great ideas, and I told him today, when I sent him a message, that my feelings didn't change about the movie, and he said, in the interview it sounded like I was predetermined to enjoy the movie anyway, but I told him that I'm just a sucker for good ideas. I get attached to ideas. When I hear the idea of something that I really like, I get really attached to it, and kind of have high hopes for it. But it doesn't always work out. Sometimes I have high hopes for stuff and get attached to this idea, and it sucks. I thought maybe a Fantastic Four movie with Michael B. Jordan was a great idea. Let's not talk about how that went. Okay, wasn't great, but yeah. So the idea, I was attached, but I loved it. There's really not too many negative things I could say about the film. Of course, it's no budget. Basically, just made no budget filmmaking, so you gotta know that going into it. So there's gonna be some audio issues. There was like one scene that I really couldn't hear what was being said. I have a hard time hearing anyways, but it was just the audio was like levels were up and down sometimes. Then there's just like one part which, when watching it, it's his friend Nicole, which at first, whenever I was watching it, I was like, why is this in here? Because it felt out of place to me. She was talking about whenever she learned about Tanner going to propose, and she said that she never said this or whatever, but she was like jealous of their Kelly and his relationship. She didn't have anyone, and he was like saying that she was going to find someone because she was an amazing person and stuff like this. And I felt like it was kind of out of place. I was like, this really doesn't have anything to do with the film. And but then later on at the end, you get to see Nicole found someone, Josh Russo, who used to do music for me for Entertain Me Arkansas. So what's up, dude? But yeah, so that was her special someone. And I think 14, 15 months later, now they've been dating. But yeah, and yeah, I Facebook snooped. Shut up. But yeah, so I still feel like if that wasn't in there, I don't really feel like that had to be in there necessarily. But I still think the movie is great, regardless of that. I mean, there's always stuff. It's a director's cut, And so if it was making a theatrical release, I'm sure the editor would probably cut that scene and those two scenes. I don't think it's beneficial to the story. To the Because of Kelly story, I think it's like a side story that I don't think is needed. So because of that, and I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. But I still think it's an amazing movie, and I've never thought I would say that I would love a documentary, but I love it. I love Because of Kelly Tanner, and yeah, I know what else to say. But those are minor complaints, not a big deal. Everybody, if I haven't shared the Because of Kelly page on the Good Stuff podcast page, I will probably tomorrow, Friday, or whenever you listen to it. You can go back and find it on the Good Stuff podcast page, and Tanner mentions it throughout the interview. But speaking of Tanner, we're going to move right along into my interview with Tanner. So here we are. All right, guys. I am here with Tanner Smith, a Arkansas filmmaker, film critic, and also, as Facebook says, just a film viewer, a lover of film. How you doing, Tanner?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. Glad to get you on. I don't think we've ever actually talked besides on the internet, like in person or anything like that, or even.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah. So this is actually the first time that we've spoken. So you.
Nice to meet you, I guess.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, man. Yeah, good. So I guess first I want to talk about being a film critic, because that's actually what the most part that I've had to do with you is being a film critic, because how I got to know you is just reading your Smith's Verdict reviews, and I really like the way that you review stuff, and I think I've suggested I think I suggested you to watch Flashpoint Paradox like a couple years ago, I believe.
Oh yeah, you did. I really like that one.
Yes, that's probably.
I checked it out as soon as you recommended it.
Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite DC animated films.
Really good.
But yeah, and then you reviewed Gotham Knights Part 1 for us too, so that was cool, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to watch Part 2?
Not yet, but I'll probably get around to it soon.
Yeah, I like Part 2 a lot better than I like Part 1. So.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, it's whatever choice. But yeah, I really enjoyed some of the words that you said in that review. It really, I took just the bits of it that you said about Timothy's performance as Joker and sent it to him as soon as I read it. And I was like, now, will you please shut up? Because Tim gets in his head a lot. And that was when me and Zach were editing that Part 1, he was real, and there's a group of 4 of us that were watching the edits and stuff and critiquing them and coming up with things to change. And Tim is really hard on himself, and he just thinks that he was I don't know, and he wanted to take a lot of that stuff out that we ended up putting in, and we were just like, shut up, Tim.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of the bits, he didn't think the bits with him and Harley and some of the stuff, the jokes that he made, they went through good enough. I was like, dude, this is the Joker. You're the Joker. This makes total sense.
That's my favorite thing about Part 1.
Yeah, I was like, you are the show. Just shut up. Just let it go. Just chill and let this happen. I was like, trust me, everybody's gonna like it. But yeah,
good call.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta tell actors and just be like, look, I got this. Don't worry about it. So that's actually, as I said, Smith's Verdict is what I know you best from. But what made you start critiquing films, reviewing films, rather?
Well, a great influence from that had to come from Philip Martin of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, and also from reading Roger Ebert's reviews, and also seeing a bunch of archival video reviews from their show Siskel and Ebert. I was reading their works and listening to them express their opinions, and it didn't really teach me to form my opinion, but rather look at the movies that I watch and just find a way to express my own opinions, essentially. Mm-hmm. And I was really into writing in high school. And I was writing stories, and I thought maybe I could write something more, and so I was thinking about my favorite movies at the time and why I like them, and maybe what little nitpicks I have with the few other films I was watching at the time, and I just started writing as best I could. And I think I started out sort of mimicking Roger Ebert's style, I'm not going to lie, but it would be a while before I would find my own voice and express my own opinions and just say the best way that I could. And so it took a long time, it took a lot of work, but eventually I was able to tone down exactly what I myself wanted to say.
Right. Make everything yourself, like it's your own voice, because I mean everybody has like a writing. We have like a writing voice.
It's just a matter of finding it.
Right. Yeah. It's just a matter of finding it. We all, I think, everybody takes an influence, and I'm sure that Siskel and Ebert had some type of influence on them, and we take an influence to start out, and of course, because as I write, so as well, so this is basically what I've done, and then we just take that from there and then mold it to where we are, because it's difficult finding your own voice and making it stand out as, oh, this is me, this is something I write. But I as I said, I've enjoyed your reviews throughout the years, reading them, and one thing that I like about your reviews, which is interesting to me, and is that you do from a 4-star system instead of like a 5-star or 10-star or whatever, or, that people normally do. And I don't really see like a whole lot of 4-star reviews. I mean, I'm sure there is some that do it like that, but it's not like, I've not really noticed it besides yours.
Oh, well, a 4-star system is what Roger Ebert used to do, so I guess it's still rubbing off on me.
Okay. I know that those are like the biggest reviewers that I could think of, but it was just, like, not something as an influence on me, so therefore, like, yeah, it's not something that I read a lot of their reviews or watched their reviews or anything like that, so I didn't quite know that's where you got it from. I just thought it was a Tanner thing, so I'm just going to say it's a Tanner thing, so.
Well, I can't take all the credit.
Yeah, but in my head, that's what it'll be.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I just make things my own in my head, so it makes me feel better. But yeah, but besides being a film critic, I don't want you to be like labeled as that, because like you say, you're also a filmmaker, and I know that you do a lot of documentary type work, which is different than stuff that I do, and I find it interesting. I've watched a few documentaries, and I always find them interesting and insightful to things, and I like how yours are. You've done ones that are basically people in Arkansas that done film stuff, and then you just basically followed behind them, did behind the scenes work. What made you want to start doing that?
Well, it basically started when I was 17. I went to a movie camp in Batesville, Arkansas. It was my 4th time as a camper, and I wanted to do something different aside from help a bunch of other kids make a movie. I wanted to bring my own camera and just go around and document a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. And it was a terrible camera, one camera, no audio equipment or anything, no lighting. It was just me making a bunch of home movies and thinking I can make a movie out of it. And then the next year, in 2010, was the T-Tari Film Festival. It was a youth film festival in Batesville, Arkansas, where just to show their appreciation for what I'd done, they showed the film and they gave me an award, the Arkansas Award. And I sort of, I didn't really think that I would go further into the art of documentary until I started doing the 48-hour film project with Andrew McMurray, and I was just bringing along my little flip video camera and shooting behind the scenes, again, thinking I can make a movie out of it, and I was just having so much fun with these people, and I think that's sort of where I started to grow, and then I would do it again for the next 48-hour, and then I transferred to the University of Central Arkansas, and I'd heard a lot about this film program. I'd even heard a lot about some of the students in the film program, a bunch of the upperclassmen, and I knew that thesis films were being shot that semester. I wanted to do something there, but I didn't know what to do because I wasn't that experienced in the filmmaking field outside of acting in an independent film, 45 RPM. But as far as crew goes, there was only one thing I could do. I could only do my own thing. So I just basically did the same thing. I just brought a camera and made some documentary shorts as I went to these film shoots, shot behind the scenes stuff, and just made a couple of cute, funny little videos that I put on my YouTube channel, and it just sort of grew from there, and I sort of became my thing. I was Dr. Doc, as somebody called me, and my love for the art of documentary sort of spawned from just making funny little behind-the-scenes videos.
Now, I know that you said that, so you started off doing that with Andrew McMurray's team on a 48, right? That's what you said?
Right.
What was it like working? And that's not the only time that you worked with Andrew McMurray. Of course, and if people don't know, he's huge. What they relabeled? Were they Nuka something? Nukazuka. That's it. Yeah.
Nukavooka.
Yeah. If you haven't seen any of their videos,
I don't know why I said V.
I was like, wait, V? What? I thought this V is silent though, so it's all good. But yeah, if you haven't seen their videos on YouTube, I don't know if you've been living under a rock or anything, especially if you're from around here in Arkansas.
They're badass.
Yeah, they're so awesome. So look them up on YouTube. And what was it like working with them on their team?
It was a lot of fun. I mean, Andrew and his team, it's so strange because they're making all these really fun, kind of silly special effects videos, but at the same time, they take it super seriously, but still feel like you're just having a good time because they're having a good time, and they just want to invite you to share the good time with them, essentially. And I think what also helps was that I got on their team because we were already friends before. Andrew was dating my sister at the time.
Watching their videos, you can tell that those guys have tons of fun making that stuff, and they have such a love for everything that they do, the franchises of short videos that they put in, and so yeah, you can definitely tell that they're enjoying themselves. But yeah, so you've also done you did a documentary moving to other 48s with Flocati. You've done a documentary on their 48 too, right?
Right, twice. One for 2014, the other for 2015, and but the one I made for 2014 actually screened in the final edition of the Little Rock Film Festival.
Oh yeah, that was I remember that one.
Actually, here's a little story to tell. Jerry Bruno of Cinerock Advertising, and he's also a filmmaker. He was the director of the 2015 Flocati film, and he said that he jumped on board because he saw my documentary about the 2014 film.
Yeah, that's a big name here in Arkansas, so that was cool that he jumped on that just because of your documentary.
Well, I said that looked like we were all having fun.
Oh, right, and that's basically, if you got to have fun when making filmmaking, or you'll get burned out on it pretty quick, I think. So. Right,
and actually, that film that I made sort of got a little bit of criticism from a couple of people who saw it at the festival because they saw it as unrealistic, because it was about a bunch of filmmakers who are under this huge time crunch making a film in 48 hours, and were not stressed out in the slightest. And that was actually something that I wanted to sort of rectify in the 2015 documentary. I was trying to find that angle of how does it feel to be under this time crunch? How does it feel to be stressed out? But then I realized, if you love what you do, you don't have to be stressed out.
I mean, it is a stressful process to 48 hours, but if you get a team that know and everything's clicking on all cylinders, I can see where it's not a stressful process at all.
Right.
I've done a couple 48s. The first one I did, I guess we just had too much going on and the team just didn't click, or whatever happened with that. But the second time that I did a 48, I just cameoed in it, but I could tell that the team that I was with, Ben Gibson's team, they were not stressed out at all the entire time, because it was just a bunch of friends making videos and having fun. And so when you just focus on that and just love what you're doing, you're definitely right. There is no stress. But moving on past that, and something that I just saw on Facebook the other day, and went to go look more into it, was the premiere of Unscripted. Another thing that you shot is March 8th from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Ron Robson Theater.
That's right. My very first documentary feature.
Yeah, how does that feel to be headlining a Made in Arkansas night of shorts and stuff?
It's unbelievable, man. I mean, well, first of all, Unscripted has already been rejected from a bunch of festivals so far, and they would be rejected from some more, so I'm a little curious to see how the audience is going to respond to it. Just having this one particular night dedicated to it. But at the same time, I am glad that it is getting screened for an audience, because it's one of my personal favorite projects I ever worked on, and just want to show it to people, you know?
Right.
Unscripted is a documentary feature about the makings of, well, generally it's about a lot more than this, but generally it's about the making of 8 undergrad thesis films at the University of Central Arkansas. And that night we're showing all 8 of those films, those shorts.
Right. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that there was going to be 8 shorts, and I was I didn't know if I was reading it right, but it's the 8 shorts that are featured in Unscripted, correct?
Right. The film chronicles the makings of all those films.
Oh, okay. So will yours be going on last, or will it be going on first?
I think it's first. I'm not quite sure. I think it's first, and then a Q&A, and then showing all 8 of the shorts. I'm not exactly sure. I have to ask somebody about that.
Yeah. Well, or everybody could just show up March 8th, and ticket information will be put on the Made in Arkansas page, the event page. If you go to Made in Arkansas on Facebook, you can see the event page, and then they could just show up themselves and find out if it's going first or last.
That would help.
Yeah, that sounds a lot better than instead of us telling and finding out. We're not going to tell you. You have to come and get tickets and come. So
show your support.
Yeah, show your support. I mean, that's what I think we all are here for. Anyway, it's just showing support for the local scene here in Arkansas. So you got to support. You got to support because, I mean, it's not like we're New York or Los Angeles or something. As a community, we have to support each other, or it just won't. It'll topple.
Absolutely.
But yeah. So Unscripted. What made you want to do that?
Well, like I said, when I started UCA, in the couple of years since I started, I was making all these behind-the-scenes short documentaries. And I was basically following a simple formula, just like show a bunch of comedic highlights from the set, because there's always few, and then when you interview the director or writer or whoever it is that wants to be interviewed for the short, just sort of go into the emotions, the pathos, the dramatic parts, because there's always something like that too. Because like Jordan Mears, who made the thesis film Vampire Killing Prostitute, summed it up in my documentary about that. When you're making a film, it's one big Hail Mary. And so I'm just basically finding both the lighthearted and the heavier portions of each making of film. But more importantly, my documentaries were never as much about the subject as they were about the people within the subject. I want to make human interest stories. I want to get to know these people. It was when I was making my own thesis film and having my own experience that I realized there's something here. There's something to what I've been doing all this time, and maybe I could expand upon that. And so I was pitching the idea to Tony Taylor of Flicati Films, and he was immediately excited. He said, "You need to make this film. You need to make this documentary feature about all these people making their undergrad thesis films. We're going to work on that the following year." And I said, "Yeah, why not?" And so I just basically spent my last year of college, because I was still a student at the time, just following around the people and the people making their undergrad thesis films. And I just expected something. I got something.
That's awesome, man. Another thing, like a while ago, I mentioned that we got to support, the local scene and stuff. And I really feel like you doing these documentaries just shows so much support towards the Arkansas film community. And I feel like they're lucky to have you. We're lucky to have you on our, I guess, the full Arkansas film community team. If you put a team as in everybody around, we're lucky to just have you around to be able to do these documentaries, because I think it like uplifts the scene here. And I just hope that one day like someone will see these documentaries that you do, and they'll get to know more about the Arkansas film scene and help it. And then there will be someone of higher power, I guess, would be a word to say here, would be able to help us uplift the scene even more than we are already trying now. So if not enough people thank you for that, then thanks for doing that, man. Anyway,
It's been my privilege.
Awesome, dude. When making documentaries, is there like a different process for each one that you go in, or is there like you basically have the same format for each of your documentaries, or each one would you say is an original piece and you change up stuff every single time?
Well, I guess it's fair to say that a lot of the short documentaries that I've made have roughly followed the same format. I mean, like there's always something different that's being said, but I try to edit it in the way that I know how. But sometimes something comes along where you absolutely need to try something different, because it's just the way that it needs to be done. For a couple of 48-hour films, I tried something different where I was like telling it in chronological order, and other times I would frame it so that we're at the screening of the 48-hour films, looking back through the making of it and whatnot. And with my features, Unscripted was shown chronologically, and then I was it's sort of a blend between a cinematic nonfiction and just the talking head style. Actually, far be it from me to look at a sitcom for inspiration, but there's an episode of Community where Abed tries his hand at documentary filmmaking, and he says this line that basically sums up what unscripted is. It's a lot easier to tell a complex story when you can just cut to people explaining things to the camera.
But yeah, so I like how that you've basically made your own format of sense. So that's a cool way to look at it, though. And like you said, each one I think you said is different in a way sometimes, that you have to add a little bit different depending on the situation, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that leads me to one of the things I also want to talk to you about, which I feel is like way different than anything else that you've done, is Because of Kelly. Can you tell me, like, describe a little bit about what Because of Kelly is? I mean, I know what it's about, but people like listening, what that is.
Well, Because of Kelly is part documentary, part performance art. It's just basically a compilation of home movie footage, some new documentary footage, video diaries, and where the performance art comes in are these little dramatic reenactments in which I'm basically sitting down and telling certain stories, such as how I met the woman who would become my fiance, Kelly, and I just basically get actors to act out the story. And it was just a lot of fun because, like, I was breaking so many rules in, like, the documentary the category, but, like, I didn't care. It was just a lot of fun. I just wanted to tell the story the way that I wanted to. And it was such a personal story because it's mainly about me working up the courage to propose to Kelly. And then I just realized, whatever happens with this movie, it doesn't really matter because she said yes. So I just make the film however I want to make it.
I think you described it like you said a meta documentary.
Yeah, basically no budget meta documentary.
Right. I've actually talked about Because of Kelly on this show. I think it was my first episode. I mentioned how you were doing the film festival run, right? That's currently where you were at in the movie process.
Yeah.
And you were trying to get funds to do that, to get in festivals and stuff. Because I mean, it's not free to submit stuff to festivals. Some are, but a lot of it it's an expensive thing. And adds up. I mean, $35 here, $50 here. I mean, keep adding that up, and it just adds up to more money. And when you're doing these no budget documentaries and stuff like that, and you're not making money off of it, I mean, you gotta get some help to get your work out there. But I think that Because of Kelly project, I think that's my favorite thing out of all the stuff that you've done. But anyway, as I said, Because of Kelly, I think is my favorite out of all the projects that you've done, just because of the way that it is, how it's different than other documentaries. I like that. I like that fact, and just how you made a documentary about proposing. And I've mentioned this actually a couple times on the show. I just like the idea of making a documentary about proposing to your girlfriend, who's now your fiance. Because I like interesting proposals. I don't know if you know this or not, but I proposed to my wife when we're doing a live action fight scene for Gotham Knights at Little Rock Comic Con.
Really?
Yeah, like we were doing a panel there, and it was like 6 months beforehand, and I told my friend Dustin, who plays Batman, I told him, I said, look, man, I want to propose to Lacey, and I want to do a live action fight scene at Comic-Con, and with me and you in it, with Red Hood and Batman. And I was like, but I want the fight scene to end up at the end me proposing to my wife, and my girlfriend at the time. And I did. So we made this fight scene, and then at the end of it, it was basically me and Batman, and we were fighting off some of Mad Hatter thugs and Mad Hatter, and then at the end, like I go to shoot Mad Hatter because he's kidnapped Lacey, but she got away. We had her actually involved without her knowing that it was going to be a proposal, and then Batman took the gun from me and was like, "Is this how you want to end things?" And I took off my helmet. I was like, "No, that's not how I want to end things." And then my friend Ryan, who plays Nightwing, brought Lacey out to the center of the room with hundreds of people around and everybody watching, and I had a guy come out and play guitar, and I asked her to marry me. And so I like interesting proposals, and so that's why I think I like Because of Kelly the most. I mean, I haven't seen Because of Kelly, obviously, but just when I saw the trailer and I knew the concept, I was like, this is an awesome concept. And I just can't believe that you made all this and she never found out about it until after you proposed. And so, what was it like hiding this project and still making it with her without her finding out?
Oh, well, first of all, that's a great story you just shared. That, I mean, seriously, that's amazing.
Thank you.
A second of all, your opinion might change after you actually see the film, but we'll see. Okay, but like what it was like. It was terrible. It was hell, basically, because like I spent so much time like making these like dramatic reenactments and having so much fun doing it with the actors that I chose: Jacob Miles, Samantha Anderson, Star McCann. It was just some of the most fun I've ever had making a movie, and it killed me that I couldn't tell Kelly about it. I'm always telling her about when I'm having a good time, and then things got really complicated when we were doing, like when I was leading my own team for the 48-hour film project in 2017. Kelly was coming on as a producer, and half the crew was in on the secret. And not only that, we were making a film about a secret proposal plan.
Yeah, like
that part of the movie.
That is just the best story ever. I'm like, how could you not just enjoy this stuff just because of this story? The story is just awesome. I'm like, this is crazy that he was doing all this stuff in the middle. Like, she was like around, like, and he was just like, just doing all this stuff. It reminds me of, like, I read this story about this guy who proposed to his girlfriend, but, like, he knew, like, so many days, and, like, he was, like, taking pictures of him and her, but he would always be, like, holding up a sign that said, "Will you marry me?" or something like that. And, like, she was, like, in the picture and never noticed it, and then, like, whenever he did propose, he, like, handed her, like, a year's worth of pictures that he said every single day that he, like, it was, like, 300 pictures or something, and every picture had, because, "Will you marry me?" in the background. And she never saw any of these pictures or never saw him doing it.
Serious?
Yeah, like it's something like that. It's really close to that. Him taking pictures. I don't know if that's really the exact story, but I mean it is that, but I don't know if the details are the exact same. But yeah, he did that, and it reminded me of your story of Because of Kelly, that you were doing this the entire time and she didn't know.
I trusted my friends to keep their mouths shut. I had a hard time trusting myself to keep my mouth shut.
How long was the process of you making it?
I came up with the idea in either late April or early May of 2017, and I started shooting the reenactments in late May, and I proposed to her on Christmas Day.
Oh my
so
God!
About 8 months.
That is. How do you do that? This is crazy. That's just crazy.
If it's a project that I'm really passionate about, I'll do whatever I can to get it done.
And that's just amazing. Like, I just don't. Just for the story alone, I'd be like, whatever, what festival you want in? Like, we got you, man. Like, if it was up to me, that's what it would be like. We got you, because it's like that's just crazy to me, and that's why I think I like it. Like the idea the most of the stuff you've done. I like how you did you had the physical reenactments with friends of yours playing Kelly and playing yourself and stuff like that. I think that's so cool, dude. I think that's the coolest thing. Like, I had respect for you, and then, like, once that came out, I was like, man, this dude is awesome. So,
well, let's see what the festivals think of it.
yeah, hey, man, that's okay. If they don't think the same as me, at least I think that. So
I'll send you a copy sometime.
Yeah, that would be sweet. I can't wait to watch it, because just the story alone. So, you're doing the film festival run. Are you still trying to get funds for that, though?
Well, I think I submitted to enough festivals, but there's always a few more that could come around, and I could just be like, I want to submit to this festival. I may need something, so
yeah.
So far, I think I've submitted to enough, but I'll probably get back to sharing the page sometime soon, the fundraiser page.
Yeah, because you never know, you may find a good festival to get into that you want to do, and is there a Facebook page for Because of Kelly?
There is. It's facebook.com/becauseofkelly.
Okay, cool. I want everybody to go like that right now. Stop what you're doing. Well, don't stop what you're doing. Still listen to this podcast, because, I mean, it's just listening. You ain't got to watch anything. And go like that page right now. And anything else that Tanner has pages of. What else do you have pages of? I'm really a big fan of Because of Kelly, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a huge fan of it. And I don't care if no festivals like it. I think that's an awesome idea. So that's really what I wanted to talk to you for.
Are there any other questions about it you want to ask? Because I'll gladly answer them.
Yeah. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but if I ever think of more stuff and I want to ask, I will send you messages and then I'll talk about it on the show.
Okay.
Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
But yeah, let me circle back to Unscripted real quick. It's March 8th, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. At this current time, I don't think they had ticket information on that, but by the time that people listen to this, which would be like the 21st, I believe, February.
I think last I heard, I'm not sure if it's been announced yet, but last I heard, tickets were going on sale for $5.
Okay,
I mean,
cool.
I don't think they're on sale now, but I think by the time they...
By the time they listen to this, it will be. So.
Oh, yeah, well, $5 is what my producer said. It may change, but it might not.
Oh, $5 is good. Good price.
Yeah.
To see, like, I mean, that's 8 shorts and then the unscripted documentary. I mean, that's totally worth it. I mean, it's worth more than that, but I mean...
Yeah.
I mean, $5. Come on, guys, $5. I mean, you buy McDonald's food for $5. So, I mean, why not go see some awesome stuff being made? And so, not only do you get to see the unscripted documentary, but you get to see the 8 UCA shorts that are in the documentary. So, that's pretty cool. So,
and I really like the UCA shorts. There's this one called Late Fees, which is basically a comedy in the style of Airplane or Naked Gun, which are 2 movies that the director, Michael Schwartz, was a huge fan of. He basically just made something where, like, where the action is happening in the foreground, but in the background, all this silly stuff is going on, and there's these little elements of prop humor. Like, for example, the main character works at a video store. He's putting away movies, and he puts these movies in a refrigerator with the label Cold War Films.
That's awesome.
Yeah, little things like that.
And I don't have the list of all the 8 shorts. I forgot to write all those down, but I will get that and whenever I put that on my show notes, so that way people know more about the other films that are being shown that night. But yes, so is there what are you gonna be working on in the future? Can you let me know what you're working on now? Like that's not the stuff that we've already mentioned or stuff like that you plan on doing in the future. Do you mind sharing that?
Right now I'm working on a no budget narrative feature called The Cold. It's just something that Kelly and I sort of came up with. We wrote the outline. It's going to be all improvisation, and it's just basically about a group of young people who are trapped in the snowstorm and get to know each other better. Sort of like the Breakfast Club meets it's sort of like the Breakfast Club if they were a little older and they still got some stuff to figure out in their adulthood and they still need to find ways to relate to each other.
Cool. And what are your plans to do with that?
I'm just going to put it on demand.
Sweet. All right, man. Is there anything else that you would like to mention to the people that are listening of projects and stuff that you've done, or anything else that I haven't already spoken about?
Check out Oma and Us on YouTube. It's a 52-minute documentary feature that Kelly and I co-directed about Kelly's grandmother, basically telling her story of when she was a teenage girl in Dutch Indonesia, which is now Indonesia, and she was imprisoned by the Japanese Empire. We tried to get that out there, try to do something with it, but then in the end we decided it's a very important story. We're telling it for free, so we put it on YouTube.
Don't you have 2 different versions of that?
Oh yeah, we have a 9-minute version and a feature-length version. They're both on YouTube.
Sweet. And do you have a specific YouTube page to have your stuff on?
Yes, it's youtube.com/backyardpictures2, the number 2.
Okay, cool. And so, guys, go get on that YouTube page, subscribe to stuff, and watch Oma and Us. I completely forgot about that. Sorry, my bad, Tanner. But
okay.
Yeah, watch that and watch. You got other videos on there as well, correct?
Yeah, pretty much all my documentary shorts are on there.
Sweet, awesome. Well, man, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and talking to me and coming on the show. Just building this podcast up, so just trying to get some guests, and I was like, knew that I wanted to get you on here eventually, and I really thought it would take more prodding to get you on the show. So I'm glad that you're just like, yeah, anytime. I was like, sweet. I didn't know it was going to be this easy. So
it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me. I'm always willing to talk to people about what I do, just because I love doing it, and I want to promote as much of it as possible.
All right. Awesome, man. Well, thanks for talking to me. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too.
All right. Once again, I want to thank you, Tanner, so much for coming on the show. Thanks for coming on the Good Stuff podcast. and doing this episode with me. It was nice to have somebody that's not like a close friend of mine or someone I talk to all the time being a guest. So yeah, it was awesome. Thanks for being the first outsider, I guess, and quotation marks there, on the Good Stuff podcast. And so hopefully I can get some more people lined up like that. And if you want to be a guest on the Good Stuff podcast page, you don't have to do anything specific, like be a filmmaker or anything like that, or a musician or anything like that. You can just come on here and talk. Like when I do news and all my segments, it would be two of us talking. And then we can do specific episodes, like I did a Young Justice special with Bradley Julian that you can go back and listen to. We could do other ones. I plan on doing more in the future. One day I want to do like an MCU one, an Arrowverse one, a Red versus Blue one, maybe Chappelle's show. I mean, I'm going to do these are just specials that are going through my head. So if you have a special you want to do and talk about something specific, you can do one of those special episodes with me. Or if you are a musician or a filmmaker, or you play bongos under the sea with Ariel, whatever you do, or underwater basket weaving, as Ryan once said on Entertain Me Arkansas, you can be on the Good Stuff podcast no matter what you do. Message us on the Facebook page, facebook.com/The Good Stuff Podcast, The Good Stuff Podcast, and like that page, leave me a review. You can also email me, goodstuffpodcast@yahoo.com. And also check us on all our platforms. There's Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, YouTube even. Subscribe on there. And then Podbean, which is the client that we use to upload each and every episode of the Good Stuff Podcast. I want to thank you so much. Thank you, Zach, with Blind Bandit Productions, for sponsoring this show. And I'm part of Blind Bandit Productions now. But originally it was just Zach, so he sponsored the show, and he will always be my sponsor, so thanks, Zach, for that. Thank you all for tuning in to the Good Stuff Podcast, Episode 9, and we'll see you next Thursday.